Hey everybody, Brayden here. Welcome back to another game on my road to chess mastery. Today we will be covering the first game in my 11th tournament. Now this is a little bit of a confusing one because this was a weekly club tournament and I joined during round 4. So you might be asking why I only played 2 games of this tournament, or also why does my opponent have a much higher score than me. This is why. So let's just jump into the games now. We see the move e4. And after e4, e5. Again, I am playing with the white pieces, so we should expect e4. Knight to f3 and knight to c6. So just natural play. Bishop e5, as should be expected. And knight to f6, going for the Berlin, which is very interesting. I castled and knight takes e4, and I was very excited here because, well, this means the Berlin endgame. And as we saw the last time I got the Berlin endgame, I ended up winning. And let's see how this one goes though. d4, and my opponent makes not such a great move here. The natural move, knight to d6. The whole point is after taking on c6, takes on c6, takes on e5, knight to f5, takes. There's a3, c3, b3, knight to c3. H3, A4, what else is there? Bishop F4, Bishop G5, Bishop D2, Rook E1, Rook D1. I mean, like, there's so many moves here. Just pretty much not G4, and that's literally it. But there's so many options here. So it's a very open-ended type of endgame. E takes D4, though. And the problem with this is now this knight is on the open file. Sure, my opponent is up 2 pawns, but let's be clear here. This is not how you should play this position. After rook to e1, we can clearly see now that there is some problems here. And after d5, we see the move knight takes d4. And now there's even more pressure on my opponent. I am now threatening the move f3, winning a piece. And this would be very bad. But instead, my opponent goes for the move bishop to d7. And after f3, we now clearly see that we are winning material. After knight takes d4, the only logical move here is to take on d7, as well, if we just take back on d4 immediately, they win our bishop. So taking on d7 with check, and then taking on d4. Well, when we look at this position, it is quite clear that we are winning a piece. However, my opponent thought that I wasn't, and played the move bishop to c5, where they were imagining that after queen takes c5, there's knight takes c5. Unfortunately, c5 is not protected by any piece other than when the bishop was on f8. And this knight is not protecting because it is pinned to the king. And as we see here, after queen takes c5, I am going to be winning 2 pieces, not just 1, and this is a pretty straightforward win. b6, queen to d4. Queen to d4, c5, queen to e5, just trying to trade queens because when you're out material, trade pieces, try to keep pawns on the board though. And this is exactly what I was going for. King f8, f takes e4, d takes e4, and queen takes e4, now attacking the rook, again putting up as much pressure as I possibly can. We see rook e8, and this, well, just lets me trade. After takes, and takes, we now have 2 minor pieces for a pawn. And this is clearly winning. Knight to c3, bishop f4, rook to d1 check, knight to b5. I'm just trying to improve all of my pieces. When you have more material than your opponent, you need to improve your pieces. That's the simplest way to win the game, is simplify, so trade pieces, not pawns, and also make sure all of your remaining pieces are active and doing something, because if they're not doing something, you're not maximizing your potential in the position. We see rook e7, king f2, preventing rook e2. Again, restriction also is a good thing to do. a6, knight d6, and knight to f5, and this forces the trade of the rook, where now if they don't play rook d7, if they move their king, we can now win the exchange. So rook d7, all of their pieces are off the board. I take g7, and this makes it a lot easier to win. Just bring your king up, play c4, play b3. Again, don't try to trade too many pawns, but we still have enough pawns on the board where we don't have to focus on just mating with the bishop and knight. I didn't even go for the h6 pawn. Wasn't really too worried about it. h5, now I can take it whenever I want. And I took. And now, knight d7. I played knight f6, just saying, hey, if you play king f8, I'll just take on h6 with checkmate. And turns out king f8 was played, and bishop takes on h6 with checkmate. And this was the end of the game. I would say if we take anything away, we played, realistically, we played pretty much perfectly. I would say if we did talk about a specific thing in this position is when you take a pawn and you see a move like d4 that opens up lines when you're down a pawn, don't. The whole point of d4 is you win back your pawn. And unfortunately, my opponent didn't really realize this. No matter how you play this position, white should be winning back the pawn quite quickly. And that pretty much covers the entire game. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the fourth game, but the second game, or the first game you're seeing, but the fourth round. Okay, anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in game number 5.